And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. You've heard about it. A Dallas woman decided to have an abortion without telling the father of the child. That father responded by shooting and killing her. Harold Thompson is being held without bond. The victim and mother is Gabriela Gonzalez. To put this in perspective, Texas is one of 24 states to have banned or restricted abortion, according to the investigators. Now, Gonzalez, the mother, traveled to Colorado to have the procedure done. Joining me now to talk about this, and should parents, both parents, have a say in an abortion, we have with us parent Lewis Hunter, Jay Bradley, both parents, Trinity Tran, and health and wellness expert Dr. Ebony January. Glad to have you all here on The Factor Uncensored. When you hear an individual has taken that extreme step of killing his significant other because they didn't have that conversation. Your thoughts on that, doctor?
You know, honestly, it's tough. I encourage young men and men of all ages to come into the doctor, you know, with these women. It's important for you to know what's going on into these women's lives. Being a physician who's delivered thousands of babies, performed, you know, hundreds of surgeries, I can see firsthand what it's like as a woman to go through things that it's really hard to articulate to a guy. So I encourage men of all ages to come in, to be there with your significant other. We're in the day and age, you know, FaceTime. Even if it's a FaceTime visit where you can really chime in, it's very important that we converse and that men really understand what we go through as women, so that we can make informed decisions as it pertains to our health.
Now, what if that woman is not telling or disclosing that she is going through an abortion?
Well, you know, it's tough, honestly, because many people can actually hide it, especially if they're, you know, undergoing a medical abortion where it's just a pill that, you know, they're taking. It's very tough if they're not going to disclose it. So I think that it's important just from jump, when you enter into a relationship, to have an open conversation about your health, about your reproductive health as well. What are your goals? Like, we have to have that conversation to say, what are your expectations? What are my expectations? But we also have to be mature enough to have those conversations, because when you talk about someone who's 16 to, you know, late 20s or, you know, even early 30s, it's tough. Many people don't have those conversations. They're not thinking along those lines.
And Jay, as a man in the relationship, what do you expect to be told? Do you expect to be told, yes, I'm having this procedure? If it's early on, yes, I'm having this pill. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. You know, at the end of the day, it's the woman's body. It's her choice to do what she wants to do with her body. But when you have a co-parenting situation, which after the moment of conception, I consider it to be a co-parenting situation, right? There's a father, there's a mother, and it's all about the dialogue that they choose to have between themselves. This is just a super sad case. You know, I think we're also highlighting the fact that this lady had 3 other children who are missing their mother. And this all happens right before Mother's Day. It's just probably the saddest case I've seen all year.
Lewis, let's hear from you.
I think that you know, this situation is different. You know, he had a history of abuse. You know, so the argument can be made that that this had nothing to do with that. You know, that this had nothing to do with the fact that she aborted his child. But you know, I promote, or I'm a fan of a father's right to know, a father's right to consent to abortion. You know, I don't view, you know, oh, this is a woman's right to have an abortion. I don't view it through the lens of it being like a, you know, a tumor or a procedure that she's doing. This is a child here, you know, and if this is a child that she shares with me, then the father deserves to know. But most laws in every state that I know of, even if I am married to a woman who decides to get an abortion, she does not have to tell me. And there's something wrong with that. You know, it's, you know, and I was saying earlier that backstage that, you know, it is more taboo for a man to say that he doesn't want to assume the financial obligations to a child and wants to abort his financial obligations than it is for a woman to say, I want to abort the life of this child. You know, and so there's a shift there culturally that we've accepted one more than the other. The father needs to know, period, and he can easily argue this as a crime of passion.
And Trinity, is that important, what the father's role may be in that relationship? Should he be included if he is an absentee individual, if he's an abusive individual in that relationship?
I think women usually make, you know, their choice off of, you know, gut instincts, should be. And most of the time, if whoever I'm dating, I'll have the conversation you know, if it comes in, like, if I see fit and my mental and, you know, physically, emotionally, I am ready, we both agree on it, of course, you know, like, we'll continue it. But like, if I tell, you know, him and he's like, you should keep it, but mentally I'm not right, so how am I supposed to carry a baby, a healthy baby, full term? You know, it's not, like she says, like, the health of the mother is very important during the, you know, the pregnancy stage. And let's just say, be honest, where do you have crazy people out there? So why would you want to bring another, you know, like, baby that's not going to be in the best environment, and it's going to be an unhealthy, you know, like, situation for the mother and the baby? So that's what I think.
And Doc, we bring that question to you too. If that person is an absentee father, or could be potentially an absentee father, someone who is not fully committed to the relationship, do they deserve a right or a say on whether or not you deliver that child or have that child to full term?
I absolutely think that they have a choice, right? Because no matter what,
should they?
I think they should have a choice.
Okay.
I absolutely do, because they still made a, you know, a effort to, they laid down together, and
Absolutely.
you know, whether it was protected or unprotected, because we do know that contraceptives can fail, that 2% chance, whether they made that decision to move forward with the pregnancy or not, it should be had together. And I think that the conversation starts well before they lay down together. It's time for us to really start having conversations and communicating and getting to know one another as individuals, as opposed to some external factors, because that's going to help to alleviate a lot of these things that we see fit. And it, honestly, to me, it'll help you get to know that person a little bit more, so you can be able to delineate, is this person of right mind? Are they sane? Are they fit? You know, if we take a step back and slow things down and have those conversations, we'll get a lot of those answers.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We will continue this conversation after the break. Stay with us here on The Factor Uncensored. We continue our discussion regarding abortion. Should a woman consult with her husband or boyfriend before making that ultimate decision about the child? Our guests are back here. Trinity, you wanted to make a point on this and piggyback off of Dr. January.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like, realistically, I think men and women don't have that conversation prior to, you know, being sexually intimate. So I definitely feel like, you know, now there's stories like this that's happening. It is important to get to know your partner prior to having, you know, sexual relationships, because you do realize 9 out of 10 times something's gonna slip up, and, you know, you don't want to just be pregnant and just have an absent father, and, you know, it could lead to so many things.
Children are born out of that situation where they don't know each other.
Yeah.
And so they're thrown into that situation where they have to get to know each other after the fact, and it may not be compatible.
You hear it on the news all the time. You got crazy baby daddies running after the baby mama, or vice versa. It's crazy.
But a lot of this was, I think a lot of this was sold by the feminist movement, and they packaged things like abortion and birth control and dropping your baby off at the fire station and adoption. These were, you know, these were things that were supposed, they packaged it as liberation, as sexual liberation for women. You know, and this is the consequence of it now. You know, what is it, 85% of, between 70 and 85% of all children are born illegitimate. You know, so when you look at it through that lens, and if you back up, you know, back in the 60s, I know in the black community, less than 15% of all children were born illegitimate. So something shifted in that time. And at the end of the day, and I know this is not a popular view, but the keys into this world, the gateway into this world, is controlled by women. At the end of the day, women, the ball is in their court, whether or not a child is brought into this world. You know, so if the controls are going to be set somewhere, you know, and we can sit up and say, okay, well, he got me pregnant, he did this to me, he did this to me. But men have wanted sex since the dawn of civilization. That's not new. What is new is this newfound liberated, sexually liberated woman, you know, and that has changed the game, you know, and here we are.
And Jay and Dr. January, we want to get you both. What would be your response to Lewis's comments tonight?
I'm gonna speak from this as a man. And me and Lewis, you know, I often we kind of have different views on this. I feel like the man actually, when we're talking about conceiving a child, the woman is the receiver, and the guy is the sender. Let's get just simple medical procedures. So when we're talking about choosing, you can choose not to fulfill the whole journey of the process.
There
right?
are blockages.
There's you can put a raincoat on it, you want to call it a Jimmy hat, whatever it is, there are ways to block this process so that way we don't get here, right? And then there's not a conversation. So it all goes back to what conversations are you having when you're dating? You know, are you talking about, here's my views on abortion, here's my views on contraception, here's my views on co-parenting, here's my views on, you know, abuse in a relationship. If a woman says, hey, if you put your hands on me, I don't care where we are in the process, I'm not moving through with this because I don't want to bring a baby into this world. There's a conversation that can be had that clears the picture and clears the way so that way you can have a better journey to co-parenting and to hopefully a healthy young adult.
Absolutely.
Dr. January, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I totally agree. And it's like you said, sure, men have wanted sex since the end of time. However, times have changed and we are here now. And so this should be a wake-up call to any and every person who decides to enter a relationship with anyone where you are the receiver or the sender, as Jay said. We have to shift now. Right, exactly.
Who's going for this long pass?
Exactly.
Who's catching?
Or block. So, you know,
So sterile and so spoiled.
exactly, so fast. But we have to have these conversations. Now, you know, that was then, this is now. We have to shift with the times. People, there's no instant replay button, really. You know, people think that they can just shoot people and they're going to come back. This is not it. That's not it. So we have to understand that now there's a shift. As women, we have to protect ourselves. We have to understand who we're getting into relationships with. And the minute there's signs of distress, we need to get out, right? So if we're not, you know, that person isn't mature, we have to be the mature individual to say, this is not working for me. I don't want to lay down with this person, because now your life is on the line.
And really quick, who can close this conversation? Because what Dr. January says is important when it comes to the woman, saying, look, this is not a good person that should be in my life. I don't want to have a child. Really quick.
I think with this situation, this case, it's a little bit crazy because he had already been arrested. He was actually had a warrant out for his arrest because he had actually put her in a chokehold. I guess that's his like preferred move. And then at the end of the day, you know, she comes back and this is what happens. It's a whole nother conversation that actually kind of slides into how do we deal with criminals that have a repetitive behavior of putting their hands on women, right? Is this, you know, your second or third offense, you get locked up until, because if he was locked up, if he was incarcerated, this wouldn't happen.
All right. Thank you all for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.